Hello, this is Tanya O'Connor, Product Marketing Manager here at Progress, and it is my distinct pleasure to host this one-of-a-kind webinar, Our SaaS Story and Lessons Learned, with special guest Carrier Logistics. Carrier Logistics is a Progress application partner that has been in the transportation industry since 1972. 44 years. And for 9 of those years, they've been offering a SaaS application into their market. They were awarded the SaaS Excellence Award in 2015, and it is my pleasure to introduce Ken Weinberg, Vice President of Sales, who is here today to share with you lessons learned. He'll be talking about the challenges they faced in entering this new market, how they considered pricing models and how that changed their offering, the impact that it had both short-term and long-term, both internally and externally to their customer base. And he'll also be making some recommendations for Progress partners who are considering entering the SaaS space. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ken Weinberg. Welcome, Ken.
Good morning, Tanya, and thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to let you go ahead and dive in, and if you don't mind, I might have a few questions as we go on, since this is an on-demand webinar, and hopefully all of this information will be very beneficial to the Progress customer base.
Great. I guess the best place to begin is, why did we offer a SaaS offering to the industry? And that came about, I guess maybe 11 years ago, I would say at this point, when we were working in the United Kingdom, and our representative over there kept asking us for an offering on a SaaS environment. I don't think it was called SaaS at that point, but something that we could host and provide to smaller carriers in the United Kingdom. And I kept stressing that what we were looking for were the larger opportunities in the United Kingdom, and we really weren't addressing the smaller ones. We did not feel we had the ability to address the smaller on-premise carriers from the United States. And what they were looking for was really a SaaS offering on a hosted machine, and we would be able to support it from the United States. Well, we also felt that transport companies would not allow their data, their information to be moved out of the facility, that they would want to run their facility with on-premise information. So we did not address the request in the UK. But as time went on in the States, we started looking around, and we had an opportunity from a small company in California asking for our system. Now, our system is an enterprise system, which means it goes from a pickup call for services all the way through the financials. It's a total enterprise system. And generally, we provide our system to very large transport companies. And a smaller company has all the same requirements, but they're much smaller. The analogy there would be Kroger being a very large supermarket that supplies all different sizes of cereals and milk and other products in all sizes. And then you have the small 7-Eleven that may provide Cheerios in one size box or milk in one size container. So when we were requested by a small company to provide our system, it would be like a 7-Eleven asking us to deliver our system. And we said, gee, why don't we see what we can do? And we did deliver the system and hosted it. And our first decision that we made is we were not going to host out the SaaS application in-house on our own equipment, that we were going to provide our offering through a third-party hosting service that would provide all the security that is necessary, and all the hosting functionality that would be required. So we did that for this small carrier, and it was very successful. And the question never came up as to where we were hosting it. Tell us about the hosting facility. We want to go see it. That never came up. And also the issue of secure data, that, gee, they're letting their information out of their facility, and possibly a competitor could see it. Never came up as an issue.
So your first entry into the market was essentially to go downstream to a customer base that was smaller in size and demographics.
That's correct. When we decided to put our toe into the water for SaaS, we decided that this was an opportunity that could take us into what, my example was the smaller transport companies, and we wanted to limit the number of registered users on the system, and that's how we measure our customers, is by the number of registered users. So we wanted to limit them to under 50 registered users. That was the initial offering, and we really targeted somewhere under 25 users as to the opportunity.
And so was it your belief that your existing customer base would not be interested in this type of offering?
Well, we didn't think that the larger customers would be interested in it. Again, back to our belief that data could not go out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
That said, when we look at our customer base, transport companies are always located in multiple cities around a region or nationwide, and they usually have their data processing center somewhere in their system, located in some city in their system. So actually, they were running a hosted environment, not realizing it, and by us or by them, that they were really running a hosted environment, and their mainframe system is their cloud. So as time has progressed, from these smaller opportunities, we are now being asked by our larger customers to move off-premise onto a hosted environment, and newer opportunities that are coming forward are way over our 50-user limit that we originally set up, and with the same results, that they're not concerned about security. Of course, the security of the hosted site, but the issue of data moving off their mainframe is not an issue.
Okay, great. So you started with the mindset that you'd go after a new market, smaller base. It turned out, as you started to offer this offering, that it was potentially viable for your existing base. So what happened next?
Well, I will add to that even with the small customers that we started with, and we still seek out those customers, mm-hmm. those small customers that we could never address before. So that's still an ongoing effort on our part. But what we have found is these small customers, a lot of them were new startups, and this changing, very dynamic transportation environment, have grown and have exceeded the initial 50-unit, mm-hmm. limit that we put on it. They have grown from small companies up to medium-sized opportunities.
So essentially, it created a whole new market opportunity for you, and then this base continued to grow, which created a stronger customer base for you. So now you're not only serving the enterprise market, but you're serving the SMB market as well.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So although the application is an enterprise application, mm-hmm. meaning that it covers every aspect of their business, not just one area, we're able to provide an enterprise solution, as I indicated before, like a 7-Eleven to a small carrier, but those small carriers have grown. They're also changing, taking advantage of this new environment of home delivery that we're all hearing about, the last mile, the Amazon, the effect of Amazon on deliveries, which has tremendously impacted the transportation industry. Our SaaS offering allows us to address some of these new carriers that are out there. We can tweak it easier than an on-premise solution. One of the things that we learned, although we wanted to have a cookie cutter approach to our application, that we would just turn it on at each carrier and they'd all be the same. What we have found, going back 44 years, is that every carrier is the same but different around the world. And so as much as we would like them to be cookie cutter, they're not. So even in this SaaS environment where we would like it to be even more cookie cutter, this SaaS environment has allowed us to tailor our software to fit the individual customers, even the small ones. As long as they are paying for the changes, we can address it. And it has allowed us to take the SaaS application and move it into some of these new transport opportunities that are out there.
So when you first decided to go to market, you mentioned you had a metric of registered users. How did you decide to price it? What did you base that on? And did you conduct any cost analysis so that you had an understanding of the fact that you would be making sure to cover your operational costs, since this was a new business model for you?
Great. That's an important area. One of the situations that came up was an opportunity to attend one of the Progress executive meetings that Progress puts on, and Colleen was having a session on SaaS, and pricing was one of the elements that she discussed, and she talked about coming up with the metrics, and she indicated that the best thing that you can do is get down to the lowest level. And in our business, in our application, that would be a bill count. How many bills does a carrier cut a day? But we found, although her suggestions were very good, in our environment, what we had always charged for and priced our product on the on-premise was the registered user. How many actual users would be on the system, and that was our metric that we followed in SaaS. So it was the easiest one for us to do, to price it the same way that we would price our on-premise. And what we did is we thought that we would use a 40-month payback. Previously in our on-premise, we were using 60 months as a basis, and that's based on the fact that transport companies, once they make a decision to use your product, are going to be there for life. As long as you keep them happy, provide them good service and a good application, you're going to have them for a long time. And what we were not sharing in on an on-premise is when a customer reached the 6th, 7th, and 8th year using your software, yes, you were getting maintenance, but you weren't getting anything above maintenance. So what we did with SaaS is base it on a 40-month payback, and then we were sharing in getting not only maintenance after 40 months, but we continue to get revenue for the use of the license on 40 months. And our basis was on a registered user on the system. And so we did not break it down by oh, this department only has 2 users, that department has 3 users. The idea is that a user can use everything in the system, and it's a registered user. One of the things that we did not do that was suggested, because of being able to control it, is break it down to really a la carte, to break down the product to individual features, such as what you encounter when you look at cable TV. They have so many different packages and offerings and adding a station. We felt that we could not control that. So we liked the dinner menu approach. So our pricing was based on the registered user. Everything was included, and then a few modules that were large enough to treat as extras to the software. That's our approach to it, and I would have to say that if Colleen's approach to break it down to the finest point and then nickel and dime, in the long run is much more profitable to the application partner, but it takes a lot more control.
You mentioned Colleen Smith, and for our audience
Yes.
who may not be aware, Colleen is the Vice President and General Manager of OpenEdge. And so let me ask you, Ken, did you find Progress to be a helpful resource for you? Did you feel that they had a fair amount of expertise related to SaaS to help you in your challenges in entering the new market?
Absolutely, Tanya. And I mentioned Colleen, and I should emphasize it. Colleen was responsible for initially for the SaaS offering at Progress, working with the APs, and she was a wealth of information that she had gathered from her past experience with other companies and other APs about how to approach SaaS. She also originally established relationships with some hosting companies, which Progress was using at the time. Today, the one that we're using and the one that originally we started with from Progress's recommendation was Dimension Data. And Dimension Data has facilities around the world. But initially, Dimension Data had a familiarity with Progress, and that was very helpful for us in setting up our application on their hosting facility. And again, I have to come back and say Progress/Colleen was very helpful and was always reachable. Progress was always reachable for answering questions about how we should approach something in our SaaS efforts. How did other people do it?
I appreciate you mentioning that, Ken. And for those of you that are listening, Progress is still very interested in helping any company that is considering this business market opportunity. And Colleen is still available to provide expertise on an ongoing basis. But let's move on. What I'm wondering next is, I think a lot of partners have concerns about how to restructure internally. So it's a completely different business model. How do they focus on commissions with their sales force, since it's no longer an on-prem deal that a good portion, if not all, is paid up front? How do they go to market with a different marketing structure? Did you encounter any of those challenges, and how did you work through them?
Okay, let's address some of them, and then you may have to come back and...
Sure. That was quite a few questions. You're right.
Okay. Yes, it was a cultural change for us, which we had to address. I think the biggest one to start off with is the fact that cash flow, that the money that an application partner is used to when they sell their on-premise solution is not available to you in your pricing model. You may receive something up front, but your monthly payments are going to be what you receive, and everything is bundled in that monthly payment. So you need to adjust your cash flow during that initial period as you continue to add customers. It will be a tremendous drain on your cash flow during that period of time, and we felt it as for at least the first year, and then once you're settled in, then it's almost like an annuity coming in every month. But that is something that the partner must realize, that they're going to have a cash flow drain during that first period. Addressing the commissions, we set up a separate commission schedule that's based on an upfront kicker. We thought, again, because salespeople were not going to get a large commission check for this on-premise installation, that their money would be spread out over time, that we wanted to put something down up front. So we created, and in our case, we called it an activation fee. And that is a payment that we ask the customer up front for as part of our pricing model. So here's the monthly pricing per registered user, and there's a upfront fee of X amount of dollars that we ask for. Something like when you lease a car, they have a upfront down payment due at signing, and then your monthly payments are very small. Well, that's the same approach we used on the software. There was an upfront payment which was small, not large, that would then compete with on-premise, just a small amount. And what we did with that payment is a high percentage of that payment was used as the commission to the salespeople. So they did get a kicker up front, and then they got their commission every month for the first year, the second year of the installation at different commission rates for the first year and the second year.
How did your sales force react to that change in payment structure for them? Was it positive? Was there angst?
The sales force was fine with it, because what we were giving them is an easier sale. I think I indicated that our sales were very large, took a long time to close. So this gave them something that they could sell in a smaller, in a faster manner. Mm-hmm. They could close them faster because they're smaller. So they would get they would get their commission and see it, rather than wait for a large on-premise opportunity, and then maybe the fish got away, and now all their resources were put into trying to close that large fish. Now they could catch some smaller ones and work it into their sales program. So we did not set up a separate sales force. We just added it as another offering.
So the sales cycles were shorter in some cases, which gave them the opportunity to potentially sell more, but they still had the opportunity to sell into the enterprise space, the on-premise solution. So if they were not comfortable selling at that smaller market, they could continue to make the revenue the same way they had been.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. That's correct. And so we actually have changed our pricing model, that our on-premise now is, we've changed the wording, but the on-premise used to be a large payment up front, and it was quite large. What we've done now, even to the on-premise, is we call it a subscription model, which is mimicking the SaaS without having hosting.
And from an operational perspective for you, does it help you to manage the business better?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because if a customer wants it on-premise, the price is, okay, here's the cost of your subscription per month to have it on-premise, which is attractive to the customer and very attractive to us, because, again, once you finish that initial payback period, you continue to receive the monthly payment. So we actually have moved our whole approach to almost being a SaaS model, either hosted or not hosted.
And let me ask you this. I think I hear a lot from partners that they're concerned about losing their professional services business. So with on-premise, there's quite a bit of customization that happens, and that provides another revenue stream from a services perspective. How did that impact your business? Was that a concern for you?
Yes, a major concern. We have kept the professional services separate from the SaaS offering. We do not bundle any professional services into the SaaS offering. So when we give a customer a proposal, we spell out in detail the professional services that we think they're going to require based on past experience of companies of that size. And here's what it will be, less any customization, which we would hope is minimal. But of course, sometimes it's not. Mm-hmm. But we can give them a budget for the professional services, less the customization. And we continue to run that separately. It's billable. It gets billed monthly along with their SaaS payment. And we hope after the initial startup that the professional services is zero, except for training. We strongly recommend that our customers, because it is such a large, robust system, schedule periodic follow-up training. And that falls under professional services. And we've put a lot of emphasis on training manuals, online training manuals for our system. And that's an element of the SaaS. Today, people are used to buying an iPhone and buying other applications and learning how to use it themselves based on online help tools. So we have put a lot of emphasis on developing online help tools. And I have to say that the SaaS offering has tremendously helped us in reducing our need to travel to our customers for a large portion of the professional services that we previously provided. So it has helped us streamline even the professional services through our focus on better documentation initially for SaaS.
That's really interesting. That's a really good point. I don't think that everybody always thinks about the impact that it has across the company, such as training is a really great example of how it changes, how you bring that to market as well. I have a question about competition. At the time, in 2007, there weren't a lot of companies necessarily offering SaaS applications. Did you have a lot of competition at that time? And have you seen the competition grow? And how has that impacted you in terms of what you're offering?
Actually, we have not seen, we did not see it initially, competition. And we still see limited competition when it comes to offering our application as a SaaS solution for our customers. Our major competitors really still want to deliver on-premise solutions. And some of our smaller competitors are delivering SaaS solutions, but they host them in their basement. And our SaaS offering is extremely robust. Between Progress and Dimension Data, we have a really robust offering that is very secure and one that we can compete with for the smaller ones. We do charge more than our smaller competitors, but we feel when we get in and just explain what we're doing and why we have a higher cost, that we're able to win that business in most instances. Yes,
Well,
please.
that makes sense because you're offering value there. So, from your experience, why do you think a lot of your competitors have been hesitant to enter the SaaS market?
I think they really like having the large upfront money,
Mm-hmm.
and they are a couple of our competitors are public, and I don't think they want to go through the cash flow difficulties. They like that upfront money, but I have to say that I'm not really investigating why. I'm very happy that they stay away, from our approach. But
Absolutely.
I need to, the dimension data and progress platform has just been incredibly reliable, for us.
Okay, excellent. What else can you tell us, Ken?
Um, I think one of the things that I would strongly recommend to partners that are getting into setting up a SaaS environment, that they do establish a small upfront fee, what we call an activation fee, and then it's very important that you keep your collection costs minimal, because you really need that cash flow every month. Remember, I stressed that cash flow is going to be difficult. So we added ACH requirements to the product and to our customers. So part of our contract is that a customer is going to pay us via ACH, and what that is just an automatic withdrawal from their bank every month for the amount of the SaaS agreement. And that way you have your money to work with, and you're not waiting 2-3 months to get paid, which adds more stress to your already stressed cash flow. And then when it comes to installing the system, we suggest that you install it in stages, especially for these small accounts, so they're able to absorb the application. And you might address that by even have them ramp up on how they reach their total SaaS fee. You may not charge that up, the whole thing up front on day one, but you're going to do it in steps. That said, you also must be strict when you say the system is ready to go live in 60 days. Whether you are ready or not, payment will start in 60 days or 30 days, whatever your time cycle is, because customers can drag out the actual startup based on vacations, based on other issues, training. So you need to be firm on that. Again, comes back to that cash flow that you need to do. And then if you're able to address your product with add-on services, both professional and modules, that's a great way to increase your monthly revenue. Also, the length of time that you put on your contract. We don't have a fixed rule. I think we lean on having a 3-year contract. That's the initial. And as I indicated, we use 40 months. So there's a gap there. But we have not seen anybody leave us. But we do have customers that come in and they're hesitant, they're not sure. So we'll give them a 1-year contract that is renewable. And we do have the right to increase the fee after a contract expires, each time. But there are customers that aren't sure, and so a 1 year is fine, and that's just based on your business. And you may even go down to a monthly basis. If you don't like it, you can leave. No one wants an unhappy customer. So even though you have a contract, if it's not working out, thank you very much. And we actually have seen in the past where a customer did not grow to take advantage of the software in this new division for them, and they asked us to get out of the contract, and we did not hold them to it. And I have to say that a year later, they call up and they say that they're either with a different company or they want to start up again in the old company with the same product and would like, to start our product, and they remember how good we were to them when they needed to get out. So that's our philosophy, how we run our business. So contract length is something that you need to consider, but what fits in your model is the best way.
Yeah, I think the impact to short-term revenue is a big issue for a lot of companies that are considering this. So I think that was all really great advice from your very in-depth experience. Let's talk now a little bit more about the technology. I'm assuming technology has changed over the last 9 years. I see here that you are going to share with us some lessons learned in terms of the hosting provider and multi-tenancy and infrastructure. What have you learned over the last 9 years that maybe was different from what you started with, or has the technology kind of stayed the same for you?
I would say the technology more or less has stayed the same. We have a single source of software on our hosted model. There's one version for all our customers on software. And then we have individual databases for every customer. It's not multiple tenant software. It is a single database for each customer, but we have one source of software that's out there. And we found that we did need to move the hosting to the hosting facility closest to our customer. So Dimension Data has facilities, a number of facilities in the United States as well as worldwide. And we have found that moving our software to their hosting facility closest to the customer that we're installing provides the best response time. So as much as we may have liked to have it in one facility, it did not lend itself to the best performance under Dimension Data. And also the ability to back up from one facility to another facility is an attractive feature in our environment. And it's a good selling feature that someone working out of their basement hosting facility that can offer. And that is that our hosting facility does multiple backups on site. And then on top of that, we can have it backed up to another facility, say on the East Coast from the West Coast. That is a real attractive offering. And you can charge more for that to your customers. So you're almost providing them with, an additional level of security, which you're entitled to get paid for. We also found, based on our hosting customers compared to our on-premise customers, it's much easier to get upgrades in. On-premise customers are always finding excuses why they can't do the upgrade now. They have to wait. Whereas our hosted customers get upgrades on a regular basis, a much easier upgrade for us to provide enhancements to the software. So we're able to keep the customers up to date more on the hosted side than we are on the on-premise.
So did the issue or the idea of having multiple hosting locations, was that something that you went out of the gates with, or did you learn that over time where there was performance issues and this was something you discovered that you needed to offer to make sure that performance was at the level that customers were expecting?
Yes, that developed over time. That we initially had one site, and that's where we hosted everything. Mm-hmm. And then we found with the internet that getting it closer to the customer base added to the performance. So we could increase the performance of the hardware at the hosting site, but the networking issues that are out there, the public networking issues that come into play, were better addressed by moving closer to the customer sites.
And
so that was not the initial plan.
And on tenancy, it might be worthwhile for us to clear that up a little bit. You talked a little bit about single versus multi-tenancy. So what you're saying is that you have a database per each customer versus having a database where it's separated and managed with multiple customers within one database. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
We maintain a database for each customer, and within that database, we may even provide them with a test environment for themselves. So we may have multiple databases for a customer in their environment, and then the software itself comes out of a single source. We only have one release of that software, which they all use, and within that software, there may be some pointers for customization.
Okay, great. And then you also mentioned upgrades. I think when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned to me that you have a very specific pricing structure for upgrades and add-ons. Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly?
Well, we don't charge as part of our pricing.
Mm-hmm.
We're very proud of the fact that our customers receive new versions of our software as part of the monthly fee. There is no maintenance. The maintenance percentage does not show up as a line item at all. It's part of their monthly fee. And we periodically, one will have an upgrade based on maybe, bug fixes, but also enhancements to our software based on the request system that customers are putting in all the time to enhance our software. Everybody gets the opportunity to share in those enhancements. We'll upgrade the software release so all customers can take advantage of the new features in the software, as well as any fixes to the software.
And what does your release cycle look like? Do you provide upgrade or enhancements on just a rolling basis, or do you have a schedule of, say, annually where you provide enhancements?
We really don't have a fixed schedule.
Okay.
But we have a major upgrade once a year, and then some periodic upgrades during the year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So where are you today, Ken? What does your SaaS business look like compared to what it looked like in 2007?
Our SaaS business has continued to grow. It has been an emphasis for us. We've seen it to be extremely profitable over time. We have overcome the cash flow issues, which you can tell I keep coming back to. So we see it as an annuity. We see it going on. We've had customers on it now for the whole 9 years. We have had some small customers come on, get off, based on the fact of their business didn't grow or they didn't stay in it. But overall, the customers have really stayed with us and gone beyond the break-even point for us. And we've developed some wonderful references based on the SaaS. So the SaaS has become a basis for our company today. And I guess I go back, now that I think about it, Carrier, in its initial years, had a service bureau where we had software that we were running on a service bureau and running around delivering paper printouts to customers. But we were running a mainframe for some smaller customers. And when we look back at SaaS today, it's just an old idea repackaged with new technology. But our service bureau business that we did in the 70s was the basis for paying the rent and turning on the lights and paying our employees. So today, I think we have the same model, that the SaaS is becoming the foundation. And when we have an on-premise system, that's like very nice bonus money.
So all of this has been so great, Ken. I appreciate you spending the time to talk through lessons learned. Is there any final advice that you have for our Open Edge partners out there?
Good luck.
Thank you very much. So
You're welcome, Tanya.
Yeah, this has been a pleasure, Ken. Getting to know you and Craig has been great. So in closing, I just wanted to share some resources with all of you. Up on our website, we have some SaaS-related materials that can help you. This webinar will be an on-demand webinar that will be available to everyone so that you can re-listen to it over and over and hear Ken's great advice, as well as share with colleagues. But we also have a webinar that was presented by Robert Maholad of IDC and Colleen Smith. Ken mentioned Colleen earlier as being a SaaS expert, and that's Untapped Market, Seize Your SaaS Opportunity, and that goes through what's happening within the market from a SaaS perspective, where the opportunities lie both within specific industries and geos. We also have an ebook that we created known as Seizing the SaaS Opportunity, and a lot of that is very similar to what Ken shared with us today. It talks about the history of SaaS, how it has evolved over time, and where the market opportunities are, as well as giving some advice in terms of positioning and pricing. And it also lists resources that we have here at Progress to help you get started on a SaaS initiative. And then the last resource is a conversation between Colleen Smith and Richard Stone of Progress, both as experts in the area of SaaS, and they just talk through what's happening and why the SaaS opportunity is so important for Open Edge partners today. Again, Ken, I want to thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate all the information and knowledge that you shared, and we wish you a great deal of success in 2017.
Our pleasure, Tanya.
Thank you very much. Goodbye to everyone out there.